Hi folks, Scott Kelby here, and I've got my 7 top tips for why the Canon EOS 80D rocks. The first one is because of the articulating screen on the back. So you have this little screen, it just pops out, you can rotate it, it can articulate. Why is that such a good thing? Well, it's really about perspective. Think about it, as a photographer, we take all of our shots standing at regular eye height. When we lower our perspective, where we raise our perspective, all of a sudden our shots get more interesting. Why don't more people get up high or get down low? Because it's uncomfortable and it's a pain, but not if you have an articulating screen. So for example, I love to shoot automotive detail. I can get the camera really down low, I can flip out the screen, I can look up, and I can shoot all kinds of different parts of the car without getting down on the ground, without laying on the ground, without being on my knees, and I can still see what's going on. It's also great for shooting weddings or shooting just above anybody. Anytime that you want to get a different perspective and you want to see what you're doing, it's perfect for that. It's also great for taking selfies with your DSLR. Or if you're on a tripod, it makes it really easy to take group shots. Now, there's also some other advantages of it. Because it's a touch screen, when you're shooting in live view mode, it has touch focus. You can just touch the screen to focus, which is awesome. Now, there's also a quick control button. Because it is a touch screen, you can do things that are so easy. You can make your settings change just like that. I can hit the Q button right here on the back of the screen. If I want to change something, like I want to change my focus mode or my white balance or even my file type, I just tap with my finger, move the dial, and I'm done. It makes it so quick. Now, the obvious stuff like swiping through your photos, being able to just swipe through them or pinch to zoom, but it's the other things that I think really make the articulating screen rock. So that's number 1. Number 2, it's 24 megapixel camera. And taking advantage of those extra megapixels is awesome. And of course, with such a large megapixel, yes, you can print really, really big images. But I don't think that's the big advantage. I think the super big advantage is that you can crop in really, really tight and still keep lots of detail, even enough detail to print if you want to. Because that's the thing. A lot of times if you're shooting things like sports or wildlife or even a wedding, the subjects are quite far from you and they wind up being very small in the frame. When you've got that many megapixels, you can crop in tight and it still looks awesome. Number 3, it shoots 7 frames per second. So why does 7 frames per second matter? How do we use it to our advantage? Well, think about this. When you can shoot 7 frames in 1 second, you're going to capture things that you've never been able to capture before. For example, I shoot a lot of sports. And so a lot of times when you're shooting like the quarterback's going to pass, you think, well, that's not something that happens that quickly. Takes the ball back and passes. Do you know how many shots I have in my career where you have the quarterback with the ball back here, and in the next frame I take, the ball's gone? Well, nobody wants the shot when the ball's gone. You want that shot where the ball's right there. Or if you're shooting tennis and the ball's right on the racket, you want the ball coming just off the racket or just hitting the racket. Nobody wants the embarrassing empty racket shot. When you shoot 7 frames per second, it makes all the difference in the world. You're going to capture emotions you would have missed, you're going to capture action you would have missed, and you're going to get scenes that you never would have got any other way. 7 frames per second is awesome. Number 4, another way the 80D rocks is that you can tweak the default settings for better results. This is especially if you shoot things where you want a lot of detail, like landscapes or cityscapes or things where you really, really want that super sharp look. Well, there's a new picture style, and it is called the fine detail picture style, and it basically adds greater sharpness and detail to your images, your RAW or your JPEG images, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But first what I want to do is tell you how to turn it on. So go to the camera tab, the 3rd menu, choose picture styles, tap on fine detail, and tap the OK button. Now you can crank up the strength and things if you want. The settings that are the default settings are pretty conservative, but if you want to crank them up a little bit, things get really sharp and really detailed. Now here's the thing. You know and I know that picture styles really generally only work on JPEG images. But what if you want to shoot RAW? No problem. If you want to shoot RAW, use Canon's Digital Photo Professional software, or you heard it referred to as the DPP software. When you use that software, it actually honors the picture style even though you're using a RAW photo. And you can even go and kind of tweak the settings afterwards, which is kind of cool. So it works whether you use JPEG, just out of the box like it is, or RAW if you use Canon's DPP, but totally worth it. Number 5, the 80D's autofocus system is so much improved, and What's that translate to? Better shots, more in focus shots. It has a 45-point autofocus system with all cross-type points. So when things are moving, it's going to lock on faster, it's going to track better with your moving subject, and of course, what you're going to wind up with is more in focus photos, and that's what we're really worried about. Now, for a moving subject, here's what you're going to do. I want to make sure that you do this because it's really important because it's not on by default. You want to turn on AI Servo AF. So that is the continuous focus mode is what it really is. It's continuous autofocus. But it's not just continuously focusing, which is really good though. But what it does, it has predictive focusing. When it sees something moving in a direction, it realizes, oh, this object's moving that way, and it tracks with it, and it works so very well. So all you have to do to turn this on is you're going to press the little button on top of the camera. You're going to, and it's right above the LCD panel. You're going to rotate the main dial to change the setting, and all you're going to do is go from one shot to AI Servo. Or you can just go to the quick setting here and do this. Just go to the quick setting and tap on one shot, and then change that to AI Servo. And that's it. All of a sudden, your camera is now, it realizes that you are tracking a moving object, and it's going to do a ton of the work for you. You're going to get more shots in focus. Reason number 6. It is incredible for shooting video. This baby was born to shoot video. First, it shoots a full 1080p HD video, 60 frames per second, and you can shoot for 30 continuous minutes of recording. Now, it has a bunch of improvements, even over the 70D, which I thought the 70D was pretty awesome. Also, it has a built-in mic, but the mic is now stereo. It even has a headphone jack. But some of the cool things that you can do, I want to give you a couple of tips. One of the things that I love about it is its touch rack zoom. If I'm focused on one object in the foreground and I want to change the focus to another object, maybe in the background, all I have to do is tap the screen on that background object and it will slowly rack from front and change to the second object. And you have 10 different speeds it can move into. That's pretty awesome. There's also a built-in HDR video feature. Now, the HDR video feature is going to help you to keep from clipping when you're shooting video. And it does so many other things. You can do super slow-mo because it'll do 120 frames per second at 720p, so you can slow that down for a super slow-mo effect. For video, it just crushes for video. And reason number 7 of my 7 top tips is it has built-in Wi-Fi, and the built-in Wi-Fi works amazingly well, and it's so easy. First, it uses an app, the Canon Camera Connect app, which is free. That's right, the app is free. Download the app, the wireless is built in, and in the app, it leads you right through the steps of how to set it up. How long does it take you? About 60 seconds, and you are set up and ready to go. And what's nice is you can control the camera actually right from your smartphone. You can shoot. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. I just took a shot of, well, nothing. Anyway, you can control your camera from here. You can change your settings. You can do your focus. You can use it as a remote camera now. You can shoot hummingbirds. You can do whatever you want because you can control the whole thing from your phone. You can also transfer images from your camera to your phone. And all of a sudden now you've got access to be able to share your images to Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and on, and it's all built right in. All right, guys, well, there you have it. My 7 top tips for why the Canon EOS 80D rocks.